Hey, everybody, welcome to Tavern Talks. I am your wonderful host and barkeep for the evening, and tonight I have another wonderful guest and adventure to be told. Tonight, our friend Jack from all the way down in Australia has come to join us to tell an adventure of his character and his world, and we're excited to hear about it. But before we do that, let's just let Jack have a couple minutes to just tell us who he is, where he's coming from, and what cool stuff he's working on right now. So go for it, Jack.
G'day everyone. Yes, I am Jack. I live in South Australia in a city called Adelaide. I also own my own little business, Project H2, and we develop all sorts of things, including cool little things for us role players to have fun with, where you can actually, this is a new product. This is my character, which we'll find out today, Sethrith Bloodtongue. And we thought, how great would it be to make an item? Because those little minis on the table, the detail, you just lose so much of it. So we thought, why not have something that you can place in front of you when you're role playing, where people can get a better idea of who you are? That's huge, it kicks ass, and that's what we've done. And you can also have your dice on it. So yes, that's something I create. I do other lots of little things. I do unique dice towers. So roll your dice. We've got actually, James, you got one of these.
I do. It's sitting on my
Very
table,
cool.
my desk over here.
That stores all your dice and your minis in. So yeah, it's enough of that. So I have a lot of things that I create for the role-playing world, tabletop. And I've also recently started developing a story for my main character, looking at hopefully having it ready to kickstart for some time early next year. Looking at something incredibly unique. It will be a graphic novel, but not your normal graphic novel. It'll be definitely a little bit more on the novel side, and we're actually looking into doing digital recordings of characters' voices and having the story told with hopefully some special guests. Can't say too much. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm hoping one person's already agreed to kind of help out, Eric Wahlberg, who plays Volric the Grey. My character has an interaction with him at a later chapter, and he's agreed to have his character on there as well. So if I can talk him into it, his voice will be playing his character. So there'll be some pretty unique, cool things coming. So that's about all I have, unless there's any questions.
No, that's awesome, and definitely an excitement there. Eric has been on the show before a couple weeks ago. He's great. We had some great banter with Volric, and the tavern keeper knows Volric well, so he's met him already. He's a great guy. And it was a great time to just talk with him about what he's doing over there at Dressed Quest, which I know you were originally a part of, as well as what he's doing with the new TikTok dungeons and
bad jokes.
Dragon bad jokes. Got it.
Yeah, they're good,
and they're great. So, all right.
He's a good guy.
So, before we start, just for our brand new people that have never seen this show before, the way this works is we are going to bring Jack's character to life tonight to talk with our tavern keeper. So the first portion of this show is going to share with us some of these stories that he has created with his character over time, and including this massive battle axe that he's pulling out of nowhere, which is great. But what he's going to do is he's going to set the scene first. He's going to tell us where we're at in his world and what happens. And then as we walk through a random doorway, which I will just randomly pick as he's going through his story, he's going to enter our tavern. And when he does, of course, then we'll find out a little bit more of the personality, the characteristics, the look of our character. And we'll have some fun enjoying a couple stories around, of course, a nail or two. So with this being said, Jack, take us away. Where are we at in your world?
I think Sethrith has just come through some mountain range, and he's coming out of the lower lowlands and forests, and he's just stepped out of the forest, and there's these beautiful open plains for him leading down, and you can see in the distance a strong coastline with maybe quite a large city in the distance.
Okay.
So you're standing there looking across it all. Would you like me to give you a rundown of how he looks?
No. We're not going to do that until you walk into the tavern. There's no reason to know
Okay.
who you are yet until we're there. So,
Maybe there's a village not too far away, and he
okay,
starts to head towards the village because he's low on provisions.
right. He's,
He needs
he's been
to
on a long
put some
journey.
food in his belly. So
Yeah,
that's
and
one thing
grab
he
grab
does.
some
He
food in
eats
the
a lot.
belly.
Yeah,
All right.
he
So
eats a
as
lot.
you head that direction and you start to find your way to the village, does this village have a name in your world, or is this just something that it's passing
Let's
by?
He does not know the place.
All
So
right.
this is
So
land he's just entered. So to
okay,
him, it's just a village.
exactly. To him, it's just another village, and he's
Yeah.
stopping for provisions to gather things for his heavier trek. And what's the big city that we're looking at in the distance? Do you have does he know that?
That's the thing, which actually comes out in my story that I'm writing. Sethreth has left the land that he knows, which is on the
Oh,
other side of the mountain range,
yep.
which is ice caps, and he was living with the Goliaths. So he's
So
coming
he's
across.
he's completely venturing into unknown territory at this point.
Yes, he's
All
in
right,
search of
awesome.
finding out the truth.
Okay, we'll find out. Maybe the bartender will find out what the truth is.
There
But
you
as we
go.
enter the village, Sethreth starts to look around and he finds a couple different homes, hovels in the area. And where would be the first place, just out of his mentality, that he would head to? Are we looking at the general store? Are we looking at the inn? Are we looking at a medical supply? What would be his immediate? This is where I need to go first.
With his background, he was in quite a, I guess, masculine tribal environment
Mm-hmm.
where it was very male controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he would be looking to go where he would be comfortable, and it would be where the men used to gather at the end of the day. So it would have been a tavern for sure.
All right.
And he knows that's a great place, one, to wet the whistle, two, it's the great place to find out where the layout of the area, who's who, where to find your provisions, which the best person to talk is. So he'll get his intel from there for sure.
All right. And as you head into this area, and you see a um, small wooden building that kind of sits kind of in the center of the village, and you can see the smoke coming out of the stack at the top of the chimney, and you can hear the banter of people around it as you get closer and closer, and you see that the door is partially open, but not fully. And as you get closer, you hear voices inside. But as you open the door, it's as if you hit some sort of almost barrier with these voices. As the door swings open, everything goes quiet. Around you, you feel like things just went silent. You're muted, Jack, if you're talking.
Yeah, I've just got kids in the background. I was
Oh,
just
you're
telling them
fine.
to be quiet. That's
No
all. So
worries. It
sorry.
happens. But as you walk through this doorway, you actually enter into quite a quaint little room. Probably only sits about 4 full tables. And for some reason, as you look in there, you can see that all 4 tables are made as if they're presented for somebody to walk in. And you look around, and this was a fully wooden building. But as you look in, you can see the insides of this are covered in stonework around the walls and around most of the ceiling. The only woodwork you're seeing currently is the flooring itself, the tables and chairs, the accents around the inn, and then this beautiful oak bar that sits in the back of it. And
Nice.
on the front and the back of the back wall, it states the Tavern of Tales, the Mythweaver's Respite. Everything costs a tale, everything is charged by a story. And you can see 2 swaying doors behind there that lead into what looks like a kitchenette. But you're welcome to head to the bar, you're welcome to look around the tables, look around the tavern, your choice.
So no one else in the tavern except
Nobody
myself and
else
the
is in the tavern. So you heard all these noises and you saw people outside,
bar.
and now you're here and you're like, hold up, something has changed.
Back in town, if you walk into a tavern, there's no one here. It's not a good sign that it's a tavern of quality. Well, I don't think I have much other choice, so I'll head up to the bar.
All right. And as you head up to the bar, you see the shadow of a very large figure that kind of sits, um, kind of walking out from the kitchenette,
Hmm.
and this over oversized dwarven fellow has what looks like like an average tunic and brown vest on. He's got this towel that kind of flips over his shoulder. He's got a he's got a mug in one hand, and he places it on the counter, and he says, "Welcome to the Mythweaver's Respite."
G'day, Cobber. Um, I'm new to town, so I was wondering if I could get a pint to wet
Of
my whistle.
course, of course, you
A
can
long
definitely get a
travel.
pint.
Just came through these mountain range behind me, ones that look like teeth.
Oh, teeth. Does those mountain ranges have a name?
Well, from where I come from, we just call them the dividing range, but I'm not
Oh,
sure what you call them.
well, I think we'll find out that I probably don't call them anything, but that's a different question we can talk about in a moment. Let me get you that ale.
Thank
And
you.
he reaches underneath, and you can see that this man pulls out what looks like a keg, but the keg is only about the size of his hand. And he just
Oh,
plops it up on the counter, and he
okay.
pulls the tap, and it pours into the cup, and he just grabs the keg, puts it right back underneath. Now you could say that this probably could only fill about 4 cups, but he's poured it and he's handed it off to you. Um, so, my friend, says you've been traveling for a while. I'm
Yeah.
curious where you're coming from.
Well, I'm actually coming from, like I said, beyond the range behind me. Um, so my land, it's not like this. We don't have the green plant stuff on the ground. Where I come from is just ice,
Oh,
plains of ice.
cold time. Well,
Very
there's
cold.
a fireplace brewing if you ever need to get warmed up a little bit.
Well, I find it quite warm here, so
It's probably a little bit more
I'm
than
not,
you're used to.
yeah, I'm not used to the heat, to be honest. Where I come from, we definitely rug up in furs, but here I can be bare chested and show my manness.
There you go. I like it. I like it. So, my good friend, do you have a name?
Ah, yes, I'm Sethreth.
Sekrith, I am the innkeeper. And he pulls out this massive, rotund dwarven hand, and he gives you a big old handshake.
My hand overlaps it.
Yeah, probably. So, as you start to interact with with the innkeeper, what does Sekrith look like exactly? Like, what are we
So
looking at right now as the barkeeper is staring at this what
he's
seems to be much larger man than him?
yes, he's a very unique creature. So
Sure.
you would first to build the image, think of a half orc
Okay.
because he definitely has half orc heritage per
Okay.
se. He's actually a unique breed, which comes out in the story,
Ooh.
which I won't give too much away.
All right.
But he is getting close to 8.5 feet tall.
Wow. Okay.
He is built like good old Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime years. He has skin that is jet black, black as night, which is
Okay.
not common. So
No.
your normal half orc definitely does not have that skin color, which makes him stand out, and his height. Also, his eyes, the whole eye is bloodshot red. They are pure red eyes. And he has a red forked tongue like a snake as well, which is blood red.
Interesting. Okay.
Flickers that out. He's got
Yeah.
a little bit of scars here and there. He has this beautiful mohawk that runs all the way down his back and in between his shoulder blades, and it looks more like a mane from like a
Okay.
horse because it literally grows all the way down, halfway down his back,
Okay.
and that is jet black as well.
Oh wow.
He has white, almost talons, claws on the end of his fingers that are decently long, and yes, massive of frame.
Okay.
Pointy,
Interesting.
slightly pointy orc style ears,
Mm-hmm.
strong jaw. He does have the fangs, but they not as dominant.
Okay.
You know, literally he can almost hide them. You can see him only slightly protrude from his
Mm.
mouth.
So much more of the for the Fang wise, much more of the half orc rather than the full orc, where you're actually seeing them heavy.
Yes.
They're more.
Yes, he does not have the heavy, and he has them in top and bottom. So
Okay.
the top end looks almost vampire
Mm-hmm.
style fangs, and he's got the same protruding from the bottom.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So
So like,
definitely, the barkeep is going to be taken back by the image. This is definitely
yeah.
somebody he's never seen before, and um,
Sethrith is very much accustomed to people shying away from him,
mm-hmm.
people judging him as being an evil creature, and it has been always something that he's had to deal with being judged by his looks.
Okay.
But he's accustomed to it, but it still kind of affects him to be judged in such a way, even where the people he was living with are not his people. He's been living with the Goliaths. They took him, basically found him as a child.
Okay.
Took him under the wing. So he's not of their blood either. So his quest, when he came across the mountains, is to try and find out who he is and find his real people.
All right. Interesting. So, and of course, we're going to have to hear a little bit about your stories in the mountains, because here, your money is not good. We don't ask for any money. All we ask is that you tell a story. Now, if you tell a story that's good, of course, you can get more food, more drinks, a place to sleep if you must for the evening. But this tavern is different. Every story that comes through the tavern has a place in this place. So I really do ask you, if you've got a story that's going to sink deep into the souls of people, that's the story you share, because others will see it, and maybe if you have a question, you're looking for something, maybe we can help you out there.
Well, like I was just saying, I've traveled across these mountains and left the people that brought me up. And they're not my people. They've been good to me. They've trained me well in combat, in honor, and how to wield this axe. It comes from my family, my heritage.
Oh, that's not there. That was not an axe you were given. It was an axe you had given. You were presented as a part of your family.
Well, I was only a boy, a very little boy, and I do not really remember. But my stepfather, the man who actually brought me up, was a strong leader of the Goliath people. He said that he found me almost starved to death. And the axe was chained around my waist, and I've been dragging it possibly for days and days before they found me.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe axes grow.
From my family.
Yes,
so they do not know who I am. And I was hoping when I come across this huge mountain range that I might be able to find my people or someone who knows of them. And sadly, the reason why I left was my people, well, my adopted people were all slaughtered. A huge orc raiding party came and wiped us out. For some reason, they let me live. They said that they kept calling me this name in Orcish. It means devil one. They seemed to be scared of me. They let me be free. And here I am.
But once again, you're alone.
Yes, I am.
That's a shame. Seems like you had good people that took care of you.
I did. They brought me up well, fed me well, treated me like their own. They were my brothers. Now they're all gone. And one day I will revenge them all. I will kill the Red Scorpion clan. That was the clan of orcs that took my family from me. I will kill them all.
And I bet you will. I can see it in your eyes. The goal of that vengeance and almost justice for you.
Definitely.
So this is the first time you've been on this side of the mountain range.
Yes. I've never experienced this climate or landscape. It's all very new to me. Even your accent is different. You sound funny.
Oh, I apologize. Everybody tells me that, so it's okay. I will say, Sekrith, your story humbles me. The fact that you've been placed in a place that was not your own, or taken together by brothers and sisters around you, and then all of a sudden, that was taken away too. The amount of loss that somebody can deal with sometimes is very difficult. But I must say, your goals are strong. Hopefully you can find your people. I will sadly say, though, from this tavern keeper, I've never seen one of you before.
I was worried that would be the case.
But don't...
I did pass a traveler, and he told me that the range I passed, the spine of the world, I think he called it. Is that what that is called up there?
You know, maybe we need to have a quick understanding of where you are. So where we were at is called the Tavern of Tales. And this place doesn't really sit in a world. It sits kind of in between all. And...
Oh, so where am I then?
You're in the tavern, as I said.
What happens when I walk back out the door?
You'll go right back to home.
Oh, as in where I just was? Or
where you just were.
Oh. Is that magic?
Per se.
I'm not exactly a fan of magic.
I was gifted this a long time ago by a very strong arcane user.
No.
He asked me if I would share the stories of others, and in turn he gave me a tavern that would keep forever. And
so you're stuck here too?
I am.
How long have you been here already?
I don't know anymore.
Well, then you're alone as well.
No, I have all of you people and all of my tales.
Geez, mate, that sounds a bit lonely. You're living your life through others' tales. You need to get out there and make your own.
Oh, now trust me, I've done my time. Many years of traveling and adventuring with friends and colleagues. That's why I have this. And as he does, you do not notice this, but for some reason, as he points backwards, where it said the Tavern of Tales, there are 3 items sitting on the wall. And these 3 items are the same 3 items that every tavern or every guest has seen. The head of an adult red dragon, a giant, completely as if never been tarnished dwarven battle axe, and a helmet that sits above both of them that kind of is like a visored helm, but it has 2 sets of wings that stick out the sides of it. Now those 3 items.
What is that creature? The red. What is that?
Oh, that's a dragon.
A dragon?
A creature of magnitude, to say the least. And I was not the only one that had to kill it. There was quite a few of us. There's about 11 of us.
Wow. Do you think that is like similar to an ice worm?
Probably.
Wow. Does it breathe ice? Because that's what an ice worm would do.
No, this one breathed fire. It was dangerous.
Fire. Oh, fire is a powerful thing from where I come from. How big did it get? Was it?
Oh. I mean, if you would have set all 11 of us in a line, we might be able, if we were laying on the ground, and one was us sitting at the head, and one of us was in the line to the tail, we might hit the tail.
Ah, fine creature to battle then.
It was.
Did you all survive?
Did I what?
Did you all survive?
We lost 2.
That's not bad. That's good odds.
Yes, and it's only one of many tales that I've had to deal with. But my tales are over, and that's why I'm the tavern keeper here. Many years of fighting for my life, fighting for my friends,
Well, sadly, I guess my adventures are quite new.
It seems
I
that
have
way.
had dreams, though.
Oh,
Dreamed of a warrior, older, with a scar. He helps me, and I hope it comes true. I think the dream, his name was Volric. Volric the Grey, I think it was.
heard
Yes.
that name.
I'm sure I'm going to meet him at some point. I think he's going to
Probably.
help me. Hmm.
You know, this tavern over the last while has been showing strange signs of weaving. We've had guests come from all over, and sometimes they match, sometimes they connect, as if by this massive web of fate. But your friend, the one you're looking for in your dream,
Yeah,
he's been here before.
really?
Yes. Came
Maybe it
in,
is fate.
told a tale of a mutiny on the water.
Ah,
Maybe he needs you as much as you need him.
what do you mean on the water?
He was,
Water is ice.
oh, my dear friend, water is not only ice.
Oh, you mean below the ice, where it still runs and flows?
Correct. And there's places in the world where the ice is not even there. It just ebbs and flows in vast amounts of it. And
This land is strange, but beautiful, exciting, something new.
it is. And I think once it becomes something that you're used to, you'll find a lot of enjoyment in it, in this place. Where you come from, at least.
So the man, the wanderer I saw, he mentioned of a town, and I think it's the one I could see in the distance. Have you heard of it? Luskin.
He didn't mention that name with me, but it's possible.
He said
Maybe that's
it's,
where you need to go.
He said it's on the way to never cold, no, never winter. Hmm.
You know, I don't think he mentioned much about the town. He was talking much about his boat as a ship captain.
What was the name of the boat?
That's a good question. I've had many tales told, and they all blend together. I have to watch. I don't want to give wrong information.
Can you confirm that he was a man with grey hair and a scar?
Oh, 100%. I saw him with my own eyes. He was here, sitting in this tavern the same way you are.
Was he carrying a big weapon, a sword?
A big sword, yes.
Did it have fine carvings down the center of it?
Actually, no, he wasn't. He said he put it down when he walked through a doorway. So he left his sword wherever he was at the time. But he had mentioned it. A massive blade with carvings.
Yes.
I think he called them runes.
Yes. It's the same one. What are the chances? I have to find him then. It must be fate. There must be a reason for it.
But when you leave...
So if I head to where the waters are and look for a ship, I might find him.
You might.
I saw the waters. I will go to them. I thought it was ice, but I guess not.
No, as you go south, the ice melts and it's all ebb and flow.
So hot. I'm sweating in places I should not be sweating.
Well, hopefully that will calm down too as you get used to the climate. That's why I said it's been a minute since I've even been out of this tavern. Oh, what I would do for a nice day at the beach.
Well, you should. If I can walk out the door, why can't you, mate?
Well, I've been charged for this place. If I walk out the door, the tavern goes away.
So, do you have to wait for someone to come along that you can give it to?
Per se, unless the wizard returns.
Wizard? Ah,
we don't like wizards from where I come from, mate.
Oh,
Black magic, scary stuff.
he gave me the tavern, but it did come with a little bit of a cost.
Sounds like he's giving you a bloody curse, mate.
Oh, I'm scared of what would happen if I walked out that doorway.
You'd be free.
I might not exist.
Oh. Well, that would suck, wouldn't it?
It would.
Can I have another one of those beers? They were pretty good.
Sure. He grabs the cask again and places it up, pours the glass, slides it over to you.
Is that magic as well? Because I can't see how you're getting enough out of that to fill that jug.
One of the many gifts that the wizard gave us at the tavern.
Any chance I could take one of them with me? That'd be handy on the road, wouldn't it? I'll be the most popular guy out there.
Yes, you would. I'd wonder where that drink comes from.
Might not be a good idea either. I probably wouldn't get very far.
Oh, that could be a good point. Depending on how much you like to drink, you might not make it more than a couple steps.
I did have a dream about someone I was going to drink with in the future. I think his name was Aize. Yes, fine man.
Never met the man.
Neither have I. But I remember we drank ale together.
All right.
Hence I woke up so thirsty in there and I found you.
Well, you know, I just come where I need to be. And when people need to tell a tale or two. You know, I was looking around the tavern just a little bit ago, and I found that tale that we were talking about with the old Warwick the Grey that you were speaking of. And he points over right above one of the chairs sitting in the on the side there. On the wall, you can see almost like a glimpse of golden writing inside the stonework itself, and it says the whole tale of him as the captain and the mutiny that happened during the ship at the ship.
Wow. I can't read it. What language is that?
That's you know,
it's not Goliath, is it? And it's not Orcish either. I can read Orcish.
You can read Orcish.
Down.
I don't know if I have any Orcish in here.
I can speak common, but I can't read it yet. I'm working on that.
Oh, well, I kind of summed up what the story says. The man was a ship captain, lost his ship to a first mate, and was mutinied and dropped to, well, that's how he got the scar. And he was left to die, but apparently he didn't, because he was here, and he told that tale.
Well, I'm glad he's not dead, because I've got a feeling I need to find him. Maybe I can find out some truth about my axe.
Oh.
And then me.
And maybe you will. I hope you do.
In the dream, the sword, I feel it has a connection to my axe.
Interesting.
Some way with the craftsmanship. Very unique and similar in ways, I think.
I'm still I'm not concerned, but I'm still curious of how you as a child was able to walk for days with that axe tied to your waist. It's not a small axe.
Sethreth stands up and leans back and pulls up his jerkin, and you can see, very hard to see now, but you can see faint chain scars around his waist. It tore my skin up pretty bad, dragging it, I tell you. I don't have any memory of it, but they found me pretty in a bad state. They said they guessed I was maybe around 5 or 6 years old, but in saying that, I've grown way faster than the other boys and girls in the Goliath clan. By the time
you're not a Goliath.
Nope.
You're not an orc.
Well, I have signs of an orc in me, and their language came to me very naturally, which is strange. From hearing it, very quickly I had an understanding of it, and grew from there. I do go into rages that are similar, I guess, to some of the orc clans and their berserkers.
And the orc clans were the ones that let you leave because they thought you were something special.
Chieftain, after he slaughtered my brothers and sisters in front of me and eventually killed my adopted father, my stepfather, right in front of me. I tried to kill him. It took 10 of them to hold me down. And they beat me to an inch of my life, called me that name, and they let me live. It was weird. Even though they had me near death, I saw fear in their eyes. I'm hoping my people are the arch enemy of them. When I find them, they will help me destroy the Red Scorpion clan.
Well, hopefully Warwick will give you some guidance on that. The men seem very smart, very, very strong-minded.
Is he an honest man?
He seemed to be a good man.
Good.
I don't know about a nice man, but he seemed to be a good man.
I don't want to deal with the evil in the world. I want to destroy it.
Well, I wish you the best. Because it seems the one thing I can tell you that every world has is evil.
And
But
every man has it in him too.
Every story that comes through here seems to have a glimpse of hope, glimpse of justice. And as he
Good.
says that, you do start to see strange things go on around the tavern as each of the stones start to show tales. Some of the tales are in Dwarvish, Elvish, languages that even the dwarf can't read. A few in Goliath, as there have been Goliath guests here before, and one or two Orcish, Goblinoid. The most of them in common.
You've said you've been here a long time, right?
As long as these stones have started gathering tales, yes.
And before you, was there somebody else in your place?
No,
You're the first and the only.
the wizard gave me this place, built it with his own hands, and then handed it off.
Do you have any understanding of time at all? How long do you think you've been here? And how many people have you seen, roughly?
Oh, I had to count all of the stones in this place. Just in the last while. I mean, it was lonely for a while. I don't know what happened. Nobody was showing up. Tales were not coming. It's as if there was peace within the entirety of the plains. And then all of a sudden, the doors started opening again and people started piling in. One by one, they tell their tales. Oh, we're probably just in this time, I've seen probably 40 to 50 guests of all different types. Incredible people.
Reason why I ask is, you said you've never seen my type before.
Never seen your skin color or your beet red eyes. Not together, rather. I've seen creatures of red skin and deep black eyes, horns on their heads.
No horns.
No horns. No.
No.
Seen
This
creatures. I saw a man. Well, I don't know if he was a man or not. He stood about just a little under your height. He had a massive mane and teeth. Looked like a lion.
Whoa. What is a lion?
Big cat.
Oh, cats.
Yeah.
We have the polar cats.
But he could speak like you and I.
Ah,
He stood on two legs.
wow.
Smart. Very smart.
Interesting. This adventure's going to be different.
I have a feeling you're just starting this new adventure of yours. and you're going to see many new things. I wish you luck. I wish you luck, my friend.
Thank you. I wish you luck.
Maybe one day we'll see ourselves again. Something tells me that the tavern's changing, which means I might need some help one day.
Always glad to help a fellow mate in need. Do you only ever have one at a time? What if I brought a bunch of my friends? If I had friends.
You know, we've only had it happen once, and around that time that happened, things in the tavern started shifting and changing, and I got a little concerned. At moments, it felt like the tavern was starting to unravel itself, and then like the blink of an eye, it returned itself back to normal.
Very interesting.
Well, I wish you on your road. I hate to keep you. It seems you need to find this man, this Volric the Grey.
Yes. I will head to the coast, to that town that was mentioned. Luskin. Yes. And then I'll go to that Nevercold.
Nevercold.
Never. Winter.
Winter, that was what you said. Winter, yes.
Yes.
Winter. Well, you're welcome. The door is right back there. If you'd like, I can pour you one more ale for the road.
Definitely. That's
Pours you another ale, hands you the cup.
Cheers.
You can take that with you. Maybe one day you can return it to me when you come back with a new story.
What was your name? I didn't catch it.
You know, there's so many guests that have asked that question. And it's been so long since I've been here. The only name I can remember at this point is the innkeeper.
All right, innkeeper. I'll call you Cobber. Ha ha! So, I'll drink it, knock it back, reach out to shake his hand one last time, and head out the door. And hopefully I pop back into the world I was in.
Yep. So as you cautiously walk out the door, confused at what just happened, you shut the door behind you, and immediately, as if the sounds kind of just return, you can hear the banter of people around you. You can hear the yelling of market at the marketplace of people selling and buying goods. And you turn around, and you can start to hear the voices of people in the small tavern that you originally thought you were going into. And as you open the door this time, our scene will start to go to black as you head into a new tavern, one that is more in your world than you expected to be last time, as you continue your journey to find out who you are and the fullness of Sekhrath as he continues down this new chapter in his life. And that, my friends, is where we end our story this evening.
Yay, that was fun.
Thanks. No, I've had a lot of fun with these. They're so much fun. And somebody always has a different question to ask the tavern keeper. It's great. It makes me have to slowly build this character.
Impromptu role play is always fun.
Oh yeah. And like I said, my favorite part about this type of role play is there's no dice, there's no character sheets. We're just two people bantering back and forth as if you were sitting in a bar, and it's great.
Yeah.
So we've only got a few minutes left, but before we do, I really do want to kind of break down and find out the background of Sekhrath and kind of get the idea of where he came from, because this, and maybe we can get a spoiler or two about the book because it sounds cool. Maybe. Not going to push anything. So
I can leak out a bit. Let me just get some notes up here.
Sure. Yeah. So
I've got some notes. I'm going to open them up because there are a couple words that I've actually researched in Orcish that I cannot remember.
Oh, nice.
So it'd be handy if I did have it.
Sure. So while you're doing that, I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. The one I'm going to ask you most is like, what got you with the idea of starting to write your own book?
Great question. So to give some kind of background to it, I have dyslexia. And growing up as a kid, studying, especially in writing, reading, was quite difficult.
Oh, yeah.
With my dyslexia, very young age, reading and writing things from the board to paper, I really struggled with.
And I'm not the only one with kids around today,
Nope. The kids are popping in.
We deal with it as parents. So
Yep.
yeah, I struggled, and being a bit, I'm 45 years old. When I was a kid, wasn't as commonly known about or diagnosed.
Yeah.
So I didn't get diagnosed with dyslexia until I was at least probably 10 or 11 years old.
Oh wow.
And by that point, I'd already gone through most of primary school and really struggled. And once I got diagnosed, it changed my life. We could work around it. There was other ways to improve on those areas.
Right.
So for me, that's a little bit of a backstory of why is I'm very creative. I always have been. I'm someone who's always had very good access to my creative thoughts of stories.
Yeah.
But never had the confidence to finally try and put that on paper. And I've been procrastinating about it for years. And I have started other stories, but not committed and finished them. So I've got other little stories that I've got some great content, but started them and they're kind of in the initial phase of planning.
Right.
So I guess meeting up with Eric Wahlberg, he actually contacted me. He reached out to me through Facebook and said, mate, come and join this group in the States. I reckon you put a great spin on it for us and it'll give something new. And you look like the type of person you have fun with it. And it did. We had a ball.
So was that the first time you'd ever experienced Dungeons and Dragons?
No. I've been playing since I was a young fella. My brother's about 8 years older, and he hardcore into D&D when I was young. And I was probably 7 years old when he first started DMing to me at home.
Awesome.
And we played first edition, second edition. We played a lot of second edition, which I'm a huge fan of. I loved Cavaliers. I played Cavaliers like crazy, all about the chivalry knights, horseback, having a code. So, and my brother is also incredibly talented as a storyteller. My brother didn't have dyslexia, so he's very talented at writing and storytelling. Super intelligent guy. So I was very blessed in that, having him as a role model as a kid. And we used to just do one-on-one D&D. And then eventually, when I got a little bit more older, he'd have me join in with his older mates.
Right.
And it just kept growing. So through him, he planted the seed of tabletop gaming. We also played MERPs, which is Middle Earth role playing.
Yep.
Which is based on Rollmaster. Very complicated, but so much fun to play. So I've played a fair few different things. Another system called Traveller, which is based in the future. It's based on D6s.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Star Wars world, but much simplified. So I was blessed in having an older brother that took me under his wing in that area. Sadly, we're not very close now, but I've always got a soft spot for him and D&D because of that start. So I've been playing for a long time.
Right. You just got lucky enough that Eric reached out to you, and it grew from there.
Yeah, it grew from there, and I had a ball. We were under Navotri first, and then Quest to Quest. And it was only due to my work commitments and commitments to put food on the table for the family and I that I had to go back to work full time. Sadly, my business was doing well, but not generating near the income
what you needed,
that I needed. I've still got the business. It's more of a hobby business now. I do it on evenings and on weekends.
Yep.
And I full-time work for the government now.
Welcome to my life.
So everyone, the dream is not the reality, sadly.
Yeah, no, it's not. And, I feel you there. And it's been years to figure that out. I mean, I did, I've dabbled in professional game mastering. I've dabbled in writing, but I'm an IT professional by trade.
Yep.
And the amount of requirements that it would take to match what I make as an IT professional as a game master, it's like I would have to be in the same level as like Matt Mercer. Otherwise, I'm not making the kind of money I need to make. So
Yeah,
it becomes a
sadly.
hobby. But it
Yes.
does it does make some really neat opportunities to do things that you wouldn't normally get as just a professional in the world. So,
Yeah. And meet like-minded
oh my
individuals
goodness, yes,
where you
100%.
can relate on a totally different level. You can
Yep.
open up about your nerdiness and not be crucified for it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. And just like how Eric was able to do this for you, I
Mm.
got the opportunity with GUI Cube. These
Yep.
guys,
Yeah.
I just wrote my first adventure last year, which was
Cool.
awesome. It's out for them for purchase over on their website,
Yep.
and yeah, it's this community is what I will tell people left and right is what saved my mental health for years. Once I found it again, I found D&D again, it was like this new revitalization of what I missed for so many years. And
I hear that from so many
yeah.
people of the connection in the community and the hobby
Yep.
saving people or getting people back on track or giving them hope
Oh
or
yeah.
a release. For me, it's a huge release to step out of the reality and just to be able to be creative. I'm, like I said, very hands-on person.
Mm-hmm.
I like creating things. So I need that kind of
Outlet.
part of my life to keep my balance.
Yeah.
Not just physical training. Physical training is extremely important to me as well, but
Mm-hmm.
I need to train my creativity just as much.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
years I did like I there's a gap between after college and
Yeah.
before I picked it back up where
Yeah.
and when I got it back, it was like as an IT person, I'm very methodical, very numbers, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't use that creative side of my brain as often as I wanted to. And then it was like I picked this back up and it's like, oh, now I'm using both sides again. And,
Mhm.
and that was kind of where it stopped or where it started. And it's just grown from there. If it wasn't for Eric, of course, you and I never would have met. And
Nope, that's right. He's opened up a lot of doors for me. Like
he has.
I'm gonna be at GaryCon next year, man. Like how
So
awesome
am
is
I.
that?
So am I.
First time. I'm
so
stoked
happy.
because there's so many people like yourself and even like Luke.
Yeah.
Like I'm friends on Facebook, which it's not the same. Like I'm gonna actually get to meet these people finally in person and yourself.
Yes.
So I'm really stoked.
And when you meet, I will tell you right now, when you meet that man, he is a monster. He's like 6'4". He's huge.
Yeah, he looks huge.
I've had the opportunity to, and because of people like Eric, which wasn't the person that involved me with Luke, but people in GUI Cube last year when we were at Genghis in Colorado Springs, Luke was one of the guest speakers, and he came out to the GUI our like GUI pre-party that we do every year before we even launch the convention.
Yeah.
And I sat there and talked with him for like 4 hours, and everybody's like, to me it was cool, but it wasn't like something super awesome.
Yeah.
And then I started putting pictures up of hanging out with him and stuff like that, and people were like, do you know who you're hanging out with? I'm like, yes, but to me this becomes a normality because we're always surrounded by people like this, and to other people it's a shock. And but he's a great individual, prior military, just like me, which is how we started talking the first time.
Similarities.
And, oh yeah, 100%. And like you said, friend on Facebook, and then it's funny to say that, but then you talk to people and they're like, well, what do you mean by friend on Facebook? And then you can open up Messenger and actually show that you've talked to the man, and you're like, they're like, oh, you actually know him. Like, yeah, no, I actually have met him and know him and stuff.
Isn't
like
it
that.
crazy in this day and age, having private messages where someone says you know them and you haven't physically meet them? My old school monkeys.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely different.
I can't claim that yet. I haven't quite earned that right yet.
Until I
shook the guy's hand and we get along with each other in person, then I could say,
and he's a great person. Like we drank with him, and it was a great time. And then we saw him again at Gen Con this year and was able to sit down and talk with him. I say the same thing about a lot of them. one of my favorite dungeon masters and my mentor, who I reach out to all the time, Jason Azevedo. He's a Canadian dungeon master for Realmsmith, and it's a tradition now. This is the third year in a row where at Gen Con, at least for 20 minutes, we sit down and BS and chat and hang out, and then we go our ways.
That's pretty impressive. I know who he is.
Yeah. No, I have. We get our, and it's funny because I'll tag him every year at Gen Con, and he's just like, so glad to see you type stuff. And but every year I've got the picture since I first started going to Gen Con, because I shot myself in the dark. I just had started the Misfits in 2020. 2021. And Sunday I was there, and I shot a message on him on Facebook, and I said, hey, is there any way you and I can sit down and talk? I was like, I know you're busy. And he sent me a message back on like a public channel too. Like I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get a hold of this dude. And he goes, hey, meet me at this booth at this time. And that was it. And it was like, oh. And when I sat down and talked with him, it wasn't sitting down like fanboying over him. It was, we were sitting having an actual conversation together.
Yeah, that's what you want.
That's what I wanted, right? That's what I wanted.
And that's what they want too, man.
Yeah.
Just treat each other like individuals. Be respectful.
Exactly. And now it's hilarious because now it's like every year it's hunted out. So it's like, hey, where are you going to be this year so we can meet up? Bullshit.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. So, and I've got the same picture.
Also looking forward to meeting up with Stefan as well.
Stefan is that such a happy person. I met him last year. Sadly, he was not able to get to Gen Con this year. I met Nate last year when we were doing the GUI game show. He came in and helped us build the giant dungeon with us for the show that Saturday. So many good people, like so many crazy, awesome people in this community.
I don't know how I'm going to jam pack it into like 4 or 5 days.
You don't. You don't.
It's going to be, you know, when you go to a wedding and you're like, when it's your own wedding, and you're like, shit, did I actually talk to everyone? Like it's like snippets.
Yeah.
I hope it's not like that. I want some quality time, man.
Yeah, and I think for GaryCon, because it's a lot smaller, it's going to be easier. Gen Con is a monster. I mean, we peaked out this year at we peaked out this year at 85,000 people.
Woo! That's huge. That's gonna be the biggest so far, isn't it?
It is. It's their it's their biggest. It's considered now the biggest in the United States, and I think it actually rivals the biggest in the world. So.
Damn.
Yeah, it's huge. You know, they've moved past just being in the convention center now. Now there's an entirely different portion of it that's just in the Lucas Oil Stadium. It's obnoxious. But that to me, that's when I go to Gen Con, and especially if I'm working with GUI Cube, it's a job. It's no longer am I focused on having fun, meeting people. It's a job. I've got to be there to help get these games.
Definitely. Have you met Peter
I met him this year. He was on the GUI game show Friday afternoon or Friday morning. And I got to sit down and talk with him for like 10-15 minutes.
He seems like a really gentle, lovely guy.
He's a very genuine person. He is, when you talk about busy, that man is the epitome of busy. Like,
really?
He darted from, like, he was like, I've got 10 minutes to chat. He's like, I gotta go run to this thing, and I've got to do this thing. And I was like, wow.
He must be loving life, though. He's living the dream. Like, he's in...
he's everywhere all the time. You know, another one of those people that's like, oh, I didn't, like 2 years ago, I was like, oh, I got to talk to Peter on Facebook, and we were supposed to do a live Tavern Talks with him that weekend, but we just couldn't find time. He's like, are you going to be here on Monday or Tuesday, like after the convention? And I was like, no, I'm going to fly home. But hopefully that becomes a normality where I can kind of stay after a convention or go out before a convention, so that these people that we consider, you know, our role models, our mentors, those types of people, you can find time to sit down with them when they're not in that level of, you know,
not under the pump.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So, Let's get back to this thing though, because I don't want to ruin the, I love talking about our community, and our community is fantastic, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to find out about this story. So tell us, even if you can just give us a couple little snippets of what you're trying to portray to in this book of Sekhret.
So we've actually touched on some of it with our chats in the tavern.
Okay.
So it will start off with Sethreth entering the what's that range called?
The spine of the world.
Spine of the world, right? So I won't be able to say that in the story per se, because we don't have any copyright problems.
Correct.
But,
yes, you will have to
It is based in that world.
Yeah.
To as much as I'm allowed to legally, and I'll be properly checking off on all those before it gets published. So yeah, it would be his adventure on his own, heading through just after. So the real story is he was adopted by a Goliath village that had their own basically military presence, a bunch of mercenaries that they hire out to other areas to protect them from raiding orcs from the spine range.
Right.
So they got hired to take care of, they thought, just a small scouting party, and it actually was a main huge army pushing through, and they got surrounded and butchered. And the chieftain, like was explained in the tavern, lets him live because of his heritage, which Sethreth's not aware of.
Right.
And I don't want to give too much away, but at one stage when the orcs came across the rift way back into this world, they actually had a master race that controlled it. And I'll leave it at that.
That sounds good. That's what
There's
we're
only
gonna.
a very limited amount of that bloodline left. And
Nice.
They've lost power now. The orcs are fully independent now in this world.
Yep. Interesting.
So the orcs tell their children a story at night. If you don't go to sleep,
I go to bed.
the devil's going to come and take you out.
Oh.
And they were talking about their red eyes and their red
So
tongues.
this is the boogeyman bedtime stories.
Yes.
Yeah. No, those are.
And it's a very, I shouldn't say too much, but they're very opposite to Sethreth's beliefs. They're quite evil.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So-
I mean, and I'm not saying this is, you never want to judge a book by its cover, but like if that character walked into my bar, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, man. You'd be touching cloth. You'd shit yourself.
yeah, it'd be a bad day. But
Wouldn't end well.
But
And
I will
that's-
say that is a good that right there, and I'm going to let people sink on that, and they can sink their teeth in that, because hopefully by early next year we'll get some sort of a writing
I'm
opportunity.
very much hoping I can get it to the point, at least when I go over to GaryCon, that I can have something to show some of the people like yourself in person to get feedback.
100%. I'd
and
love to read it and give you feedback.
The goal is to not just have it in a written form, but in a digital form as well.
Awesome.
Which would include some amazing artwork. I will be seeking out an artist, and I know it's going to cost me a fortune, but it's an investment I am willing to take. And then eventually, once I get I guess you could call it the trailer introduction of it ready, I'll be pushing it on Kickstarter and hopefully get some good backing.
Awesome.
And will, depending on what people commit to Kickstart, would entail what you receive. So I don't want to say too much, because I'm actually going to be creating something, as far as I'm aware at this point today, no one else has actually done.
Okay.
And it'll be combining the different medias.
Right.
And I don't want to say it until I've actually properly done the research and maybe even tried to lock it in that legally I own it. So
awesome. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to keep prying, because I really want I want to see this in its fullness once it's actually out there and ready to go.
And it's not going to be kid friendly. I'm
probably not going to let my children read something that looks like the boogeyman anyways. So.
It may even be fully R-rated. I'm not sure yet. So yes, it would have nudity,
possible sex scenes, and definitely violence,
gore, blood,
so
everything.
gore.
Yeah, gore. Yeah. So, Jack, it's been a pleasure. I know Australia is one of those things, like these types of mentalities where I get the opportunity to talk to people from across the United States or across the world is absolutely fantastic. So how can they find you if they want to get some of your products, prepare for the book? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So, well, product-wise, jump on project. Oh, let me confirm. It's been a while since I've even had to say it. I know my email address. So it's projecth2@au. So it's not @.au. Project, let me say it again. Project H2.au for Australia.
All right.
There we go. So
Awesome.
yes, you get on there for products. If you just want to follow along and see what I'm up to, either on Instagram or on Facebook. On Facebook, it's project.h2.
All right.
Or just follow me, and you always get the links. Jack Hackenbruck, Hackenbruch.
There you go. See, that's how you do it, because you've said the last name so many times in your life. You're like, I can rattle this off like a cakewalk.
Yeah.
So, and of course, you can find us every weekend and every week actually on Wednesdays and Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch. And then, of course, we pipe these over to YouTube later that week so that you can check out all of our shows, both for Tavern Talks and any show that we run on Sunday nights, including our new up-and-coming community shows that should be starting in the next couple months. So looking forward to that. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful evening. The tavern is closed. We'll have everybody a good night.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.